Chapter 2. You and Astral Projection. We have already seen that the normal human way for consciousness to be aware of anything outside itself is through a vehicle of some kind. We have seen that in its usual state the consciousness has three vehicles: the physical body, the astrosome or astral body, and the noemosome or mental body. We have also seen that in the normal life of human beings, and in this book we are only concerned with what is normal. We are not concerned with anything which is supranormal or suited only to demigods or highly developed mystics. The means by which the conscious mind is aware of what is outside itself is its astral vehicle, and usually at the same time, at least in waking life, by means of its physical vehicle. The astrosome, however, is less limited. The astrosome has its only awareness at its own level, whether the rational mind knows about it or not. Indeed, the rational mind can be, and frequently is, only made aware later of something which has already been privately transacted by the astrosome, with or without collusion by the physical body. That accounts for a good many situations when the astrosome insists on expressing an emotion which the rational mind would not permit, and the results can be very laughable or embarrassing according to the circumstances. With regard to the sleeping state, this independent action of the astral level is characterized by the subsequent recollection of a dream, which contains a certain amount of vivid and objective subject matter, but no evidence of more than emotional guidance, and probably also a mixture of quasi-physical with apparently fantastic or symbolic imagery. This dream evidence indicates that the astrosome can not only act independently of the noemosome, but also can have out-of-the-body experiences independently of it. That brings us back to the question we left at the end of the last chapter. What is it that projects? What goes out from the physical body is not as long as earthly life lasts, the whole astrosome, the whole astral body. If the whole astral body is ejected, that is death, as in some cases of sudden and extreme shock, as from bomb blast, in which the bodies have shown no sign whatever of a physical cause of death. But such an accident could not occur to a healthy person from any cause less than that type of shock. The entire astral body does not, in the out-of-body experience, detach itself from the physical body. The gross astral, or at least, remains to keep the heart beating, the nervous system and brain ticking over. Those essential functions may sometimes be slowed down, to an extent sufficient to frighten an uninformed observer who sees the unconscious body, but they are continuously and adequately functioning. A woman traveller, motoring along through a country district in Scotland, had a mishap to her car, which could not be put right until the next day. As it was late evening, she went to an isolated cottage nearby and asked if she could spend the night there. The cottage was occupied only by an elderly woman and her unmarried daughter. These two told the traveller she was very welcome to stay, save that they had but one bed, which they shared, and they could only invite her to sleep in it with them. Having little choice, she accepted. During the night she awoke and found to her horror that the elder woman lying next to her was cold, limp, and so far as she could tell was no longer breathing. Hastily she roused the daughter with a distressed, "I think something's happened to your mother." The younger woman leaned over, assured herself of the true state of things, and casually replied in her broad Scots accent, Nay, she'll be out and about." And in the morning, before the weary guest was again awake, the old lady was back from her wanderings and was cooking the breakfast. What goes forth from the physical body in projection, deliberately or otherwise alone, or with a conscious mind, is some of the substance of the astral body, more or less, but some, and only some, while life lasts. Astral substance, then, can be ejected from a person's astrosome in four possible ways. A. Involuntarily and without the rational consciousness. This can have various consequences. The material may return or may partially return, bringing vivid but bewildering and inconsequent dreams and frequently a feeling of being more tired on awakening than on going to bed. A rather coherent example is given in the appendix of this book. Or the material can produce strange poltergeist-type wrappings in the bedroom, or it can simply be lost and cause a mysterious exhaustion. Causes and cure of astral bleeding will be completely explained in Chapter 3. B. Involuntarily. Involuntarily and with the rational consciousness. A book of case histories could easily be filled with examples of this. Some individuals have almost a habit of waking into full consciousness, but into an already unconsciously exteriorized astral vehicle instead of into that which remains in the physical body. Most of the examples one hears of, however, are of experiences during sickness, such as a fever, after a sudden impact, such as a fall from a horse, or while undergoing total anesthesia. The person reports having felt complete, rational, and normal, and generally has only been made aware of the situation by recognizing his or her physical body. An example is given in the appendix. C. Voluntarily and without the rational consciousness. This is a special magical technique in which material is sent out deliberately for the purpose of assimilating impressions. Full details of 2 distinct forms and uses of this procedure will be given in chapters 4 and 5. D. Voluntarily and with the rational consciousness. This is the main activity which this book is to teach you. The chief aim of this book is to explain to you and to give you all the facts you need on how to have your rational consciousness function through and travel at will in a vehicle of astral substance, exteriorized by you for that purpose. Everything else in this book is for the purpose of letting you know more clearly what you'll be doing, or why various procedures are helpful, or how you can obtain maximum benefit from your new knowledge. The explanation continues. The rational consciousness, when this is in the body in the ordinary everyday state, acts through the astrosome to draw upon sensory brain consciousness, and so builds up its awareness of the physical world. The brain is not the intelligence, but it is a very complex computer, and the rational mind is to a great extent dependent upon it for reliable working data, at least in some fields of activity. That is why a person who has not long been practicing astral projection may have the impression that less than his whole rational mind is functioning while out of the body. He will be capable of experiencing his travels distinctly and definitely, appreciating adventure and excitement and beauty, forming impressions and judgments of any human or non-human entities that he may encounter. He may realize that some of his experiences have spiritual significance, which he will interpret, naturally, in accordance with the extent and the type of his own inner development. Yet, with all this, he may not be able, until he gets back to his body, to remember some technical data he thinks might be useful, or to coordinate his astral experience with an earthly experience of the same sort that he knows he once had. This, however, does not indicate any limitation in the mind's own capability while in a state of projection. It is simply a temporary effect of its separation from the brain's computer bank. Many people who begin astral projection may never be troubled with this problem, but those who are will find that the trouble passes away altogether when the projected state becomes, with practice, part of the normal life experience. Can you recall how, when you were a small child, you needed years of practice to learn to use that physical body, and then to learn to use that brain? If you don't remember any of it very clearly, you may have watched other people going through it all in their childhood, tumbling about while learning to walk, then struggling to hold a pencil, then really working hard to do so simple arithmetic and to memorize how to do it. Anything you need to learn now will be a great deal easier than that, and for 2 reasons. Reason 1, you've heard of the inertia of matter? Well, your astral body is far quicker and more tractable than your physical brain. Reason 2, you'll find that owing to the particular nature of astral travel and astral adventure, a lot of the brain-clogging stuff that seems necessary in physical life would be just plain useless in the astral. One example of this was mentioned in the previous chapter. You will not need road maps,